All right, so today we're going to dive deep into the EU's big crypto experiment.
MIKA.
MICA. The markets in crypto assets regulation, and you really want to understand not just the what of MICA,
Yeah.
but how it's all going to play out across the EU.
Right.
So we'll unpack the big picture stuff.
The broad strokes.
Yeah, the broad strokes, and get into like the nitty-gritty, how are individual countries preparing for this like massive shift in regulation?
Yeah, and I think...
And spoiler alert,
spoiler
alert,
yeah.
It's not a simple good for users, bad for businesses story.
No, not
And the debate around regulating the decentralized world of DeFi, that's where things get
interesting.
really interesting.
Yeah. What really strikes me about this whole thing is that the EU isn't just, reacting to the crypto boom.
Right.
They're aiming to become the global rule setter.
Wow. Ambitious.
It's incredibly ambitious.
Yeah.
They're trying to foster this thriving crypto market while also ensuring consumer protection.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance.
That's not an easy balance to strike.
No, it's not.
So let's break down MICA a little bit.
Okay.
It sounds like crypto businesses are kind of being brought into the same, regulatory fold as like traditional financial institutions.
Yeah.
Does that mean we'll see like crypto exchanges needing licenses?
Yes.
Just like banks do.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
So MICA introduces this idea of a crypto asset service provider.
Oh.
Or CASP. Or CASP license, and this becomes the gold standard for operating legitimately within the EU.
Within the EU.
And much like traditional finance, there's not like a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay.
The specific requirements really depend on what the business actually does.
Okay.
So are they selling crypto? Are they running an exchange? Are they offering custody services?
Got it.
Each of those has its own license type.
So it's a nuanced system.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tailored to those specific functions of each business.
Fascinating. Now, from what I've gathered, MICA has like a laser focus on tokens.
Yeah.
But not all tokens, right?
Right.
Like what's going on there?
Yeah, so MICA really clearly distinguishes between stablecoins,
Okay.
utility tokens,
And
security tokens.
Got it.
And each of them have their own set of rules.
Okay.
And it's really significant that security tokens are specifically excluded.
Interesting.
So the EU is essentially saying, we already have regulations for those under existing financial laws.
Got it. So this is about clarifying the gray areas, not replacing existing structures.
It's not about replacing, it's about clarifying.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been a lot of buzz about this 18-month transition period for countries to implement MICA. Some are even considering like shortening that to 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months.
Why the rush?
I think it boils down to competition.
Oh.
Countries are really vying for that, coveted title of crypto hub.
I see.
Right. So implementing MICA quickly sends a really strong signal to crypto businesses saying, like, we're open for business. We're ready to embrace innovation.
We're ready.
We want to be the place.
It's a race to attract the crypto industry with countries kind of jostling for position.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's bring the focus back to you.
Okay.
The individual crypto user.
Okay.
How will MICA actually impact your experience?
So the key benefits really revolve around transparency and protection.
Okay.
Think of it as adding guardrails to the crypto highway.
Okay.
Under MICA, businesses are going to be obligated to provide clear, comprehensive information about their services and the risks involved.
Okay.
Only authorized providers can operate.
Okay.
And theoretically, this leads to a safer, more trustworthy market.
So it's about establishing a baseline level of trust.
Exactly.
And accountability.
Yeah.
It's like knowing that the restaurant you're eating at has passed its health inspections.
Yeah.
You feel more confident
about
what you're getting.
You feel better.
Right.
You know what's going on.
Exactly. And there's another potential upside.
What's that?
Smoother interactions.
Oh, yeah.
With traditional banks.
Right.
A lot of banks right now are kind of wary of transactions.
For sure.
Involving crypto businesses.
Yeah, they are.
MICA could bridge that gap.
Yeah. It could.
Ease those concerns.
And make it easier to kind of manage your crypto finances.
Yeah, make it more mainstream.
Okay, that's a benefit I think a lot of users will appreciate.
Yeah.
But MICA also kind of delves into the the somewhat controversial realm
Yes, it does.
of anti-money laundering, AML, and know your customer KYC requirements.
Yeah.
This is where things get a bit tricky, right?
It's definitely a point of contention.
Yeah.
The EU's goal is very clear.
Yeah, what's that? They want to crack down on the use of crypto for illicit activities. So MICA mandates stricter customer due diligence, identity verification, and transaction reporting for crypto firms.
So more scrutiny.
More scrutiny, sure.
Okay, and it even explicitly references aligning with the Financial Action Task Force, FATF recommendations.
The FATF, yeah.
Which is a globally recognized framework for combating money laundering.
It is.
So MICA is bringing crypto transactions under the same scrutiny as traditional financial activity.
Yeah, that's right.
But didn't the EU make some concessions?
They did.
Regarding self-hosted wallets?
Yeah, they did.
Like what happened there?
They removed the $1,000 limit on crypto payments from self-hosted wallets.
Okay.
And you also no longer need identity checks on those wallets when receiving crypto.
Okay, so that was a move that initially faced significant pushback from privacy advocates.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like that.
So that's a significant win, I think.
It is.
For people who are concerned about financial privacy.
Financial privacy.
But there are still some restrictions in place.
There are.
Right.
So the legislation kind of walks a fine line here.
Yeah.
Cash payments for crypto are capped at $1,000.
$1,000.
And any anonymous cash payment exceeding $3,000 are banned.
Interesting.
So these measures really reflect that ongoing balancing act between security and privacy.
It's a complex debate.
It is.
Strong arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
Some people see stricter regulations as like a necessary step for broader crypto adoption, while others are worried about, the erosion of financial privacy.
The erosion of privacy.
And to enforce these new regulations, the EU has created a brand new agency.
They have.
The Authority for Anti-Money Laundering.
Yeah.
Or counter the financing of terrorism.
It's a mouthful.
AMLA,
for short.
AMLA, it sounds like they'll be the watchful eye.
Yeah, they will.
Over the crypto landscape.
They'll be
making sure everyone's playing by the rules.
Will be based in Frankfurt.
Okay.
And they're expected to have a pretty large staff.
How big are we talking?
Over 430 people.
Wow.
Within the next 4 years.
Okay.
So it's a significant commitment.
Yeah.
Showing how seriously the EU is taking this regulatory endeavor.
Okay, so all of this focuses on centralized exchanges.
Yeah.
But what about the elephant in the room?
The elephant?
DeFi.
DeFi.
Decentralized finance.
Yeah.
Operates on entirely different principles.
Entirely different.
Does MICA even apply in this space?
So that's a good question.
It is.
That's like the billion-euro question.
Right.
While MICA very explicitly targets centralized entities, the EU acknowledges that DeFi is the next frontier of regulation.
Okay.
So think MICA 2.0.
MICA 2.0.
A challenge here is regulating a system
that is designed to be decentralized.
Yeah.
And often lacks a clear point of control.
Right. So it's a conundrum.
It is.
You can't exactly issue a license to a smart contract.
Not really.
So how are they approaching this regulatory puzzle?
So the likely path involve targeting the individuals behind the curtain.
The individuals.
Yeah, like the founders, the developers, and the foundations that are really driving these DeFi protocols.
So it's a shift in focus from regulating the code itself to regulating the human actions.
Yeah, and decisions that are shaping the DeFi ecosystem.
So instead of trying to control the technology directly, they're looking at the people behind it.
The people behind it, yeah.
It's like saying, okay, the DAO itself might be decentralized, but we know that there are humans responsible for its creation and operation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we might see a DAO being treated almost like a company.
Interesting.
With governance token holders.
Yeah.
Viewed as shareholders.
Shareholder.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And in cases of misconduct or wrongdoing, those individuals could be held accountable.
Got it. And this approach is already gaining traction in the U.S.
It is.
So the EU might follow suit.
Yeah, they might.
Okay, so this all seems incredibly complex.
It is.
But isn't MICA just a high-level blueprint?
Yeah, it is.
Like each EU country still needs to translate these overarching guidelines into national laws.
Exactly.
So they're creating their own implementation.
Their own version of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where it gets really interesting.
So we're potentially looking at a patchwork of regulations.
Potentially, yeah.
Across the EU.
Across the EU.
With some countries taking a more crypto-friendly stance than others.
Well, we're already seeing
a
diverse range of approaches.
Give me some examples.
Yeah. So France and Croatia, for example.
They're splitting those regulatory responsibilities between their central banks and financial regulators.
So it's like a tag team approach to crypto oversight.
A tag team approach. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. Fascinating. What are other countries doing?
Well, countries like Hungary, Slovakia, and the Netherlands, they are entrusting their central banks with the primary responsibility for crypto regulation.
So it's a vote of confidence.
It is.
In the central bank's expertise.
Yeah, and their expertise.
And their ability to adapt to this new financial landscape.
It is a new landscape.
So we have kind of a split model and a centralized model.
Yeah, we do.
It seems like each country is finding its own way.
Yeah, they are.
To reconcile MICA with its existing regulatory
frameworks.
That's
exactly what's happening.
Okay, and this diversity is what makes the implementation phase so intriguing. It's not just about understanding MICA itself, but it's about understanding how it's being interpreted.
Exactly.
And applied in different national contexts.
National context, for sure. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and delve into how MICA is actually taking shape.
Yeah, on the ground. Like, how's the rubber meeting the road?
Right, exactly. Because
what are you seeing?
As we talked about, each EU country has this task of crafting its own laws to align with MICA's framework. And this is where the specifics can get really fascinating.
Yeah, it's one thing to have a high-level blueprint.
Exactly.
But the real test is in those details of implementation.
Yeah.
What are some of the key differences?
Okay, so let's take France, for example. They've been very proactive. Their MICA authorities are already up and running.
Wow.
The AMF, which is their financial markets regulator. And the ACPR. Which is part of the Bank of France. They're jointly overseeing.
So they've got two
crypto activities.
Regulatory bodies.
Yeah, two regulatory bodies.
To answer to.
Exactly.
Do you think that dual oversight model
It's a good question.
could create like unnecessary burdens?
Yeah.
Or is it necessary to ensure like comprehensive regulation?
It's a valid question. I think some argue that it adds complexity and could potentially stifle innovation.
Right. Too much oversight.
But others believe that this two-pronged approach is really crucial for maintaining both market integrity and financial stability.
So it reflects France's commitment.
It does.
To taking a pretty rigorous stance.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
On crypto regulation.
They're serious about it.
It seems like they're leaving no room for ambiguity.
Not much.
Okay. What about other countries taking a more centralized approach?
Okay.
What's happening in places like Hungary and Slovakia?
So in those countries, they've chosen to place their central banks at the helm of crypto regulation.
So the central bank is in charge?
The central bank is in charge. And this approach leverages the central bank's deep understanding of financial systems and their experience in managing risk.
It's a signal that they view crypto as like an integral part of the evolving financial landscape.
Yeah, they see it as part of the future.
Okay, what about the Netherlands?
The Netherlands.
They're also going the central bank route.
They are.
But they seem to be moving particularly fast.
They are. Yeah, so the Dutch central bank, the DNB.
DNB, okay.
They are already accepting license applications.
Wow.
Even though the official MICA implementation deadline is still some time away.
So they're ahead of the game.
They are ahead of the game.
Okay.
This proactive approach sends a very clear signal to the crypto industry saying the Netherlands is open for business.
Come on in.
We are eager.
We want to be a crypto hub.
To become a European crypto hub.
So it sounds like they're trying to establish a first mover advantage.
I think so, yeah.
Do you think this kind of regulatory competition between EU countries is ultimately a good thing?
It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
On one hand, it could lead to a race to the bottom.
Oh, race to the bottom.
Where countries lower their regulatory standards just to attract businesses.
Right.
But on the other hand, it could also drive innovation and efficiency as countries strive to create the most attractive
regulatory environments.
It
will be fascinating to see how this plays out.
It will.
In the coming years.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a reminder that regulation isn't a static concept.
No.
It's constantly involved, especially in a field like crypto.
Especially in a fast-paced field like crypto.
That's right.
Now we've discussed countries like France.
Yeah.
Croatia.
Yeah.
Hungary, Slovakia, and the Netherlands.
Are there any other noteworthy examples?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or variations in implementation?
So Denmark, for instance, has opted to place its financial supervisory authority.
Okay, the FSA.
The FSA in charge of crypto oversight.
Okay, so each country is taking a slightly different approach.
They are.
Tailoring MICA to its own unique circumstances and regulatory philosophy.
Exactly.
But this patchwork of implementations also presents some challenges.
It does.
For crypto businesses, right?
It does.
Like operating across multiple EU countries suddenly becomes much more complex.
Yeah, much more complex. Imagine you're a crypto startup looking to expand across the EU.
Right.
You now have to grapple with all these different licensing requirements, varying regulatory fees, and potentially even conflicting reporting obligations.
Wow.
Depending on which country you're operating in.
It's a logistical and legal minefield.
It is. It can be very tricky.
Do you think some of the smaller EU countries might struggle to keep up with the resource demands of implementing MICA effectively?
It's a valid concern. Yeah. We've already seen that countries like Denmark, Austria, Estonia, and Croatia are lagging behind in terms of passing the necessary legislation to align with MICA.
They're behind schedule.
They are, and the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
They'll need to allocate significant resources to catch up.
It almost feels like there's a two-speed Europe emerging.
Yeah, like a two-speed Europe.
When it comes to crypto regulation, some countries are sprinting ahead.
Yeah, sprinting ahead.
While others are struggling to keep pace.
Struggling to keep up.
What are the potential implications of this disparity?
Well, it's certainly something to watch.
Yeah.
This uneven implementation could lead to a concentration of crypto activity in certain jurisdictions.
Right, where the rules are favorable?
Where the rules are favorable. And potentially exacerbating existing economic imbalances.
Wow, so MICA intended to create a harmonized
a level playing field
crypto landscape could inadvertently lead to a more fragmented
it's ironic, isn't it?
An uneven distribution of crypto innovation and investment.
That's the irony of it.
It's a possibility.
It is.
And it highlights the complexities of regulating a global decentralized industry like crypto.
It's not easy.
It's not just about passing laws.
No.
It's about ensuring effective implementation.
Implementation.
And ongoing adaptation to the evolving nature of the technology.
Exactly, because this technology is constantly changing.
This brings us back to DeFi.
Back to DeFi.
MICA, as it stands, primarily addresses centralized crypto activities.
Right.
But how can we reconcile
how do we reconcile
these traditional regulatory frameworks with the fundamentally decentralized nature of DeFi?
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And it's one that regulators around the world...
they're all struggling with it.
Grappling with. MICA might need like a significant overhaul or perhaps even a MICA 2.0.
MICA 2.0.
To adequately address these unique challenges posed by DeFi.
What are some of the key challenges in regulating DeFi?
Well, as we discussed earlier... You can't exactly issue a cease and desist order.
Right. You can't send a letter
to a smart contract.
To a smart contract.
Exactly. DeFi challenges this very notion of centralized oversight.
Right.
So one approach could involve shifting the focus from regulating entities to regulating activities
and behaviors. So instead of trying to identify and regulate like the developers and the founders, the focus would be on the functionality. Of the protocols themselves.
Exactly. Okay. So it's a more nuanced approach.
Okay.
That acknowledges the decentralized nature of DeFi
right.
while still attempting to mitigate risks.
But wouldn't that be incredibly difficult to enforce?
It would be very difficult.
How do you regulate a system that's designed to be permissionless and borderless?
That is the challenge.
Right.
And there are no easy answers.
Yeah.
It might require new technological tools and innovative regulatory approaches that we haven't even conceived of yet.
So we're entering uncharted territory here.
We are.
The EU's attempts to regulate DeFi could set a global precedent.
They could.
Shaping the future of decentralized finance.
Yeah.
Far beyond Europe's borders.
For sure.
The stakes are high.
They are.
And the implications are far-reaching.
Yeah.
The decisions made in the coming years will determine whether DeFi can flourish within a regulated environment,
right,
or whether it'll be forced to operate in the shadows.
In the shadow.
It's a fascinating and crucial debate.
It is.
And we'll explore those different DeFi regulation scenarios in more detail in part 3.
We'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
We'll analyze the potential benefits and drawbacks of each approach.
Okay.
And consider what it all means for the future of finance.
Okay, so let's step back for a second and consider like the bigger picture, the broader implications of MICA. We've gone deep, we've dissected the rules, explored how different countries are implementing them, and even like ventured into the DeFi world. Right,
the uncharted waters of DeFi.
But what does it all mean? Like, what does it all mean for the future of crypto in Europe?
Yeah, that's the billion-euro question.
It is a big question.
Will MICA ultimately, foster a thriving, innovative crypto sector?
Right.
Or will it sort of inadvertently stifle its growth?
Kill the golden goose.
Yeah, and there are two camps with very different perspectives on this.
Okay, lay it on me. What are the main arguments?
Okay, so on one side you have the skeptics.
Okay.
They worry that MICA, despite its good intentions, could create a regulatory burden.
Too much red tape.
Yeah, too much red tape that stifles the very innovation it's meant to nurture.
The classic regulation as a killjoy argument.
Yeah, class.
I can see how some might view MICA's like licensing requirements, compliance procedures, reporting obligations as hurdles for startups.
Yeah.
Smaller players
absolutely
trying to enter the market.
Yeah, starting a crypto business is already challenging enough.
It is.
Adding this layer of complex regulations could deter some entrepreneurs.
Yes, scare them off.
And potentially slow down the pace of innovation.
So the concern is less competition, fewer new entrants.
And potentially even higher costs for users as businesses kind of pass on.
Right. They got to recoup those costs.
They're compliance expenses.
Okay, so that's one side of the argument.
That's one side.
But then you have the optimists.
Then you have the optimists.
Who believe that MICA, while not perfect.
Not perfect, but it lays the groundwork.
It lays the groundwork.
For a more mature, stable, and ultimately trustworthy crypto market.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What's the reasoning behind this more optimistic outlook?
Well, the optimists argue that clear, consistent regulations, while potentially posing challenges in the short term, will ultimately attract more institutional investors and mainstream users.
The big fish.
Yeah, the big fish who have been hesitant.
They've been sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, they've been on the sidelines.
Makes sense if you're a large financial institution or a pension fund managing billions of dollars.
Yeah, you need some certainty.
You're not going to jump into a market that feels like the Wild West.
Exactly. You need regulatory certainty.
Yeah.
You need to know the rules of the game.
The rules of the game.
Before you're willing to commit significant capital.
Okay.
And that's what MICA aims to provide.
So it's a signal.
It is a signal.
That crypto is here to stay.
It's here to stay.
And it's becoming a regulated, legitimate part.
Yeah, a legitimate part.
Of the financial system.
And the system.
So the argument is that MICA, by weeding out bad actors.
Yeah, getting rid of the bad apples.
And establishing clear standards.
Clear standards.
Will actually boost confidence.
Boost confidence.
In the crypto market.
In the market.
Okay, leading to increased investment.
Increased investment.
Less volatility.
Less of those wild swings.
Yeah, less of the roller coaster.
And ultimately, broader adoption.
More people using crypto.
More people using crypto, exactly.
Okay, so that's the hope, at least.
That's the hope.
It's a long-term perspective.
It is a long-term view.
That acknowledges there might be some growing pains.
Yeah. Some bumps along the way.
In the short term.
As the industry adapts.
Adapts to the new landscape.
To the new landscape.
Okay, so a fascinating debate.
It is.
With compelling arguments on both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be interesting to see how things actually play out.
It will.
Okay, so let's go back to DeFi.
Back to DeFi.
The question that's been looming over this whole discussion.
The elephant in the room.
DeFi, the decentralized enigma.
The enigma.
It really represents like a paradigm shift.
It does.
In finance.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed, it poses significant challenges. For traditional regulatory models.
Yeah.
Right. MICA, as it stands, primarily focused on centralized entities.
Centralized.
But the future of finance might be decentralized.
Right.
How do we even begin to regulate something?
How do you regulate?
That, by design, lacks a central point of control.
Yeah. It's almost like an oxymoron.
It is.
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's one that regulators around the world
Everyone's scratching their heads.
are grappling with.
Yeah. No easy answers. But let's explore some potential scenarios.
Okay, let's do that.
That might unfold as the EU tries to wrap its head around DeFi regulation.
DeFi regulation, it's a tough one.
Okay, so let's put on our futurist hats here.
Okay.
What are some of the possible paths forward?
So one scenario is that the EU takes like a cautious, even conservative approach.
Okay.
Opting for stricter controls.
Tighter reins?
Yeah, tighter reins.
To mitigate the perceived risks of DeFi.
The risks.
Okay, so we might see an emphasis on KYC, AML.
Yeah.
And perhaps even attempts to identify and regulate those key individuals behind DeFi protocols, as we discussed earlier.
Trying to find the people behind the curtain.
Yeah. So this approach would aim to bring DeFi.
Yeah, bring it into the fold.
Into the existing
regulatory framework.
It's
trying to impose like familiar rules on a fundamentally different system.
But wouldn't that risk stifling?
Yeah, that's the risk.
The very essence of DeFi.
The essence.
The decentralization, the permissionless innovation, the ability to create and use financial tools without those intermediaries.
That's the risk.
A heavy-handed regulatory approach could push DeFi development underground. Or drive it to jurisdictions with more permissive regulations.
Absolutely.
Which leads us to another possible scenario.
What's that?
A more hands-off approach.
Okay.
One that recognizes the unique nature of DeFi and allows for greater experimentation.
So a little bit more of a let it bloom strategy.
Let it bloom.
Yeah, a little bit more optimistic.
More optimistic for sure.
What would that look like in practice?
Yeah, what would that look like?
Well, it would involve like lighter touch regulation.
Okay.
Focusing on fostering responsible innovation rather than imposing those rigid controls.
Got it.
It might involve establishing things like regulatory sandboxes.
Sandboxes.
Where DeFi projects can experiment.
Oh, like a safe space to play?
Yeah, a safe space to play.
Okay.
With new ideas under regulatory supervision without facing the full weight of existing laws.
So this approach is about embracing the potential of DeFi.
Embracing the potential.
Allowing it to evolve and mature.
Yeah, let it grow.
While managing the inherent risks.
Yeah, manage the risks.
But wouldn't this create a potential for, like, regulatory arbitrage?
Yeah, that's the risk.
With projects flocking to jurisdictions.
Yeah, they go where the rules are favorable.
With the most permissive rules.
Exactly.
So it highlights the need for, like, international cooperation.
Big time.
In regulating DeFi.
Yeah.
If the EU goes down this path.
Yeah.
It might need to work closely with other jurisdictions.
Other countries.
To establish global standards. And prevent that regulatory race to the bottom.
Nobody wants that.
Okay, so we've got these two contrasting approaches.
Two different paths.
Cautious control versus embracing experimentation.
Control versus experimentation.
Is there a middle ground, a potential hybrid approach that combines elements of both?
I think there could be.
Okay.
The EU could adopt like a tiered regulatory system, applying different levels of scrutiny based on the perceived risk
level
of specific DeFi activity.
To a more nuanced approach.
More nuanced.
Balancing innovation with consumer protection.
Yeah, finding that balance.
Finding the right balance is key.
The Goldilocks zone.
Too much regulation could stifle DeFi's growth.
Yeah.
Too little could lead to instability. And potential harm to users.
Yeah. Nobody wants that.
It's a tightrope walk.
It is a tightrope walk.
And the stakes are high.
The stakes are high.
The EU's decisions regarding DeFi regulation will have far-reaching implications.
Oh, will.
Shaping not just the European crypto landscape, but potentially influencing global regulatory approaches.
It could set a precedent.
It could.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're at the very early stages.
Very early.
Of this technological revolution. Right. We're still figuring things out.
Figuring it out as we go.
Experimenting, learning as we go.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this space so fascinating.
It's exciting.
It really is.
It's a time of immense opportunity and uncertainty.
Opportunity and uncertainty.
Yeah.
And the decisions made in the coming years will have a profound impact.
Yeah, they will.
On the future of finance.
On the future of finance.
Well, folks, there you have it. A deep dive into the EU's crypto regulations.
From MICA to DeFi.
From the intricacies of MICA to the uncharted territory of DeFi.
We've covered it all.
We've explored the potential benefits and challenges.
Yeah.
The hopes and concerns.
All of it.
And the profound implications for the future of finance.
For the future of finance.
We hope this exploration has provided you with a clear understanding.
Yeah, a little bit more clarity.
Of this complex and rapidly evolving world of crypto regulation.
It's a fast-moving space.
It is a fast-moving space.
That's for sure.
And as a reminder, be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and check the website link in the description for more information and full reports.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.